In this video, the middle-aged nerds discuss spoilers from books they read decades ago. Do you really need a spoiler alert? Do you really?
Hey, Happy New Year. I'm Glenn the Geeky Hippie, and this is Non-Terrestrial Half-Life.
And I'm Bill, also known as Matt Stagger. And this is where we take things we read in the first half of our lives, reread them in the later half of our lives. Not that it's that late, we're not all that old. Stop it. Um, to see if they stand up or if it's just nostalgia that makes us think they were really good books. And we are starting the Dark Elf trilogy with Homeland. Joining us is the awesome Beth Doman. Beth,
Hello.
thank you
Hey,
for
Hello.
Beth.
being here.
Thank you for having me.
And Beth
Always
has
good to have
been
you on.
very busy this year. Would you like to tell us where we can find you?
Oh my gosh. Well, you can find me on Twitch most of the time. Twitch and YouTube. I stream video games 4 to 5 days a week. So twitch.tv/Beth Doman, all one word. Same for TikTok. Just do a search for Beth Doman on TikTok. You'll find me. I have a YouTube channel where I do reaction videos, but it's been kind of inactive. But I have a feeling with some shows that are coming out this year that
Wheel of
might
Time,
get
Wheel of Time.
that might get a
What are
little
you
bit
talking
more
about?
use. Plus, if TikTok gets banned, I'll start streaming on YouTube as an alternative to TikTok. And I'm in a podcast with some awesome, amazing Wheel of Time creators, Koala Sadai, Dana Liu, and more shoddy. We have a podcast called Delving the Chronicles, where we kind of take deep dives into like some of the hidden meanings behind the Wheel of Time. And we try to talk about topics that aren't necessarily generally talked about. We don't just talk about what happens, but how is that relating to our world that we live in now and stuff like that. So
Interesting.
Yeah, and I got
super
to tell you,
duper fun.
I've been enjoying it because it goes into things like, social issues and how they
Mhm.
apply to us, things like that, which, having that aspect is something I haven't really seen done, particularly with the Wheel of Time. So having that has been really good, and I've been enjoying it.
Yay. I'm so glad. And you guys can also find me on Sunday nights, most Sunday nights, on Way of the Leaf Tavern Talk with the puppets. The chaos that is,
The chaos.
they try to contain it, but it's not always contained
Do they
chaos.
really?
Oh, not
They
even
really
close.
don't try it. They don't even try to
I
contain
think
it,
they
do they?
cause most of the chaos.
That's true. Chaos. Yes, exactly. So, yeah.
And before we get started, I just want to thank my lovely wife for this, my new dice box, Wheel of Time themed.
Nice.
I almost bought one of those for myself earlier this year on Etsy. And
Those are nice.
yeah, they're really nice. Very pretty. Very pretty. We love Wheel of Time logos and merch, don't we?
Yeah.
That's a hint, Amazon. Wake up.
For real.
Give us
Right.
shit.
We want merch.
Yes.
So as Bill mentioned, we're discussing book one of the Dark Elf trilogy by R.A. Salvatore. It's the fourth book, I believe, featuring Drizzt Do'Urden, who was introduced in the Icewind Dale saga, also by Salvatore.
See, this
We'll
is
be
the
getting
first
to those
Drizzt
down
book,
the road,
as far
too.
as I'm concerned.
Chronologically, yes. Chronologically, it does tell. So, but before we start talking about the book, we have a really important question to ask Beth. Something we
God.
ask all of our first timers. When was it you discovered you liked reading, that you loved books?
Um, as long as I can remember. Literally, like by the time I was in third grade, I was reading Chronicles of Narnia, trying to read Tolkien, which it was way over my head at the time. I remember watching that terribly animated Hobbit movie that came out
Oh,
in the
yeah.
late
That
70s
was
or
so
early
bad.
Rankin
80s.
Bass.
Yeah, and wanting to read the book. And it was a little above my head at the time, but I think the moment that was the most defining for me was when I was 13 and my stepmother came home. She used to work in what we used to call back in the day a convalescent home. Now they're called, assisted care facilities. And she was a nurse there, and one of her longtime patients had passed away. and had a whole bunch of books, and the family members didn't want to take them. So she came home with this box full of books, including the Dragon Riders of Pern series from Anne McCaffrey, the Belgariad from David Eddings, the first three books of the Shannara series, the Sword of Shannara, Elfstones, and Wish Song of Shannara from Terry Brooks, and those are really the three fantasy or science fiction, because Dragon Riders of Pern starts off feeling very fantasy, but it's definitely sci-fi.
It's a mix.
Those were the three series that I really, really, really most launched me headfirst into the world of enjoying science fiction and fantasy on more than just like, it's a nice story. It was like the first time I ever really truly had like escapism into a world of fantasy. So, I mean, and now I'm
heavy hitters too.
Yeah. I mean, I was,
seriously.
I don't even, when I think about it, and about like how different my life would be if I hadn't ever really picked up those books and developed that love. Because I mean, I remember like going to the movies when I was a kid, and one of my earliest childhood memories is being at a drive-in movie theater and seeing a double feature of oh my gosh, what was the name of that movie that was it was a dragon movie. It came out in the late 70s, and they ate the princess's hands. The dragon babies ate the princess's hands. Dragon Slayer.
Ooh.
It was called Dragon Slayer.
Dragon Slayer.
Dragon
Yes.
Slayer. It was so bad, but it was good. It was so bad, it was good. It was a double feature of that movie and a re-showing of the original Star Wars, because I think they re-released the original Star Wars like the summer before it was coming out. Empire Strikes Back was coming out. So like I've always loved that kind of genre of entertainment. But as far as reading, like, it was my early teens, and I never looked back.
Books like the Belgariad and the Pern stuff are a big reason why this channel exists in the first place.
Love that.
Because those are some of the books that I was thinking about. Maybe I should reread, and I just threw the idea out to Bill one night, and the puppets on the chat while we were chatting at the puppets, watching the puppets. I've been thinking of doing rereads, and he's like, yeah, me too. I'm like, you want to do a YouTube channel on it? And he's like, yeah.
Love it.
I'm like, and that's how this happened. It literally started in a chat on the puppets.
That's
one
so
Sunday
cool.
night.
I love that.
So, but yeah, the Belgariad is one that I'm definitely down for rereading, and I don't know if Bill's ever read any of the David Eddings stuff, but maybe in the future that would be a good series we could cover too. So. But this week we're talking about R.A. Salvatore's Drizzt Stewart and stuff with Homeland. What do you guys think of this book, first of all?
Okay.
Let's just get that out.
I got to preface everything with this was my introduction to Drizzt Stewart. I didn't read any of this, stuff that had come out before. So as far as I'm concerned, the Dark Elf trilogy was my first exposure to Drizzt. So this is one of my favorite series of all times. Getting to know him. Gotcha. So when we get to Icewind Dale, I already knew him. I was so invested. So I kind of have that different perspective, because I know a lot of people, Icewind Dale came first and then they got the Dark Elf trilogy. So I think it does make a difference, because a lot of my focus on the Icewind Dale was Drizzt Stewart. So, and that's why. But I love this book. I'm not gonna lie. Is it perfect? No. Do I love it? Yes. Do I consume it like once a year? Yes.
Nice.
I do. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a huge stan. Sorry. I'm just getting that out there now.
I haven't read it every year, but this year it seems like I've been making up for lost time, because I think I've read it like 6 or 7 times this year, just prepping, and then we delay recording this, and then I prep again, and then we delay. And so I'm glad. As a matter of fact, I was listening to it this afternoon.
Yeah, it's kind of my fault. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's fine. Hey, I had to reschedule one of the times too. So, but I've been listening to it a lot. I like the book. Don't get me wrong. No, you're right. It's not perfect. I would say it's, when you look, I have a hard time looking at the licensed fiction in quite the same way I'd look at non-licensed. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you know what I mean though by where he was hired to write a story about Drizzt. He didn't submit stories about Drizzt. He was hired to write, hey, we've got these characters, this world, write this. Same way, in all intents and purposes, all these other authors who are writing for Star Wars, Star Trek, Dungeons and Dragons, that's how it's not original. So I don't look at them.
That's how Dragonlance started. I mean,
yeah. And Dragonlance has its issues. It's I wouldn't call it great literature by any means. I find the original 3 Dragonlance books more fun than this trilogy, or at least than this book. This is
blasphemy.
this is a big step up though from the worst book we've read on this channel. When it comes to especially for D&D adaptations. What was it? Dragons of Summer Flame. That was an abomination. This is a lot better than that, but I don't think it's nearly as good as the Dragonlance Chronicles, for me at least.
I definitely have to disagree with you there.
That's fine. We disagree all the time.
I think when I read this has a lot to do with why I love it so much. I read it in my teen years where I didn't fit in. I felt like I was in a place where I didn't fit into any particular mold in society. And Drizzt has that through his entire life in this book, where he's great at some things and most things, but at the same time, he never fits in and never feels like he belongs where he's at. And I picked up on that as a kid and, as a teenager, and just that emotional resonance was enough to sort of overcome any flaws. Even for me now, just that is enough to help me overcome some smaller flaws within it. And I don't see them as egregious. I mean, this is nowhere near the worst book I've ever read. So
no. That's a little too YA for me. Maybe that's the way, it's the kind of the feel that YA has for me, that I don't know. It's a bias that's probably unjustified. I have that I don't take YA seriously, and that's my problem. That I know that's that YA has some good stuff there, but to me, this feels. I don't know. I can't put it on this. I can't look at it the same way I would look at the Wheel of Time, or even like the Bulgarian or other stuff that was submitted by an author to the publishers. Hey, this is the idea I've got, instead of the publisher, hey, we need an author to write this.
I mean, actually, Drizzt was created by R.A. Salvatore, though. He was
for the Icewind Dale trilogy.
For Icewind Dale, right? It was already IP licensed. that was already. But Drizzt is 100% Salvatore's creation.
The character might.
The character is, but the setting isn't, and when you already have it. But the thing is, with me on Drizzt Do'Urden, okay, Drizzt Do'Urden is the face of Forgotten Realms.
Yes,
in my opinion, he is literally the face of Forgotten Realms as a franchise, right? And he's appeared in video games because of it. He as a literary character, he is in my personal. It might be a push to put him in my top 10 because I've read so many fantasy series that I love over the years. But he's definitely him and Catterley from a standpoint of recognizable people in the Forgotten Realms IP. They're like right up there. If you're going to compare Forgotten Realms to Dragonlance, I prefer Dragonlance personally, mostly because the heartbreak that comes with so much of the Dragonlance story. I feel like this reads as a really good serial story, like a really great, well-written serial episodic type of book series. It's a very fast read. It is I would still put it under the realm of epic fantasy because it spans so much time and so much of the epic good versus evil, and the pantheon that exists within the realm of Forgotten Realms. But I do think that I love Drizzt. I love Drizzt, but I have a way more deep rooted emotional connection with Raistlin and Karaman and Tika and Stern Brightblade and Tanis Half Elven than I do with Wolfgar and Catti and Drizzt and Riverwind and Goldmoon. Like I haven't read Dragonlance in 30 years and I still know all their names because they're so deep set and deep routed for me.
I love reading Dragonlance. I was a big fan of reading the Dragonlance, but all of my D&D was played in Forgotten Realms.
Sure. And just
I never had any answer. Yeah.
We had this conversation. I think this is what got you guys to ask me to be on this episode.
Yeah.
Jarlaxle is the best Forgotten Realms character ever written in any book ever. Jarlaxle is my swashbuckler rogue. I love him so much. And he is the reason why and him and Artemis Antrari, man. They're
Artemis. Good.
We were talking about Artemis earlier.
So
now see, and just to be clear on something, I look at my beloved Star Wars novels the same way I do Forgotten Realms and Dragonlance and all the other licensed properties.
And Ari Salvatore actually wrote
He wrote a Star Wars. He killed Chewbacca, and I will never forgive him for killing Chewbacca. He dropped a freaking moon on the Wookiee.
That's expanded universe stuff now. It doesn't really count.
Yeah,
I'm like
a
it's
third
not
of the way
canon.
into the book. It was like a third of the way in the book. I expected it at the end of the book because I knew he was going to die, and then like a third of the way in, I'm like, not now. It was traumatic. It was very traumatic.
I love the way everything is set up in this book, in particular in the story. I mean, from his very birth, he is this close to death, and it never stops. He's this close to death the entire time he's in his own society, and that is just amazing to watch him go through that. And we know you're this close to it. He doesn't even know it because he doesn't expect his fellow drow to be so ruthless, selfish.
Evil.
For the most part, yeah. But I mean, you can't really drop that whole label on all of them. I mean, we got Zach Fanan that's absolutely not.
Yeah.
He's done some pretty horrendous stuff, but
and there we come to a theme that Wheel of Time fans are going to be very familiar with: the lack of communication between characters. Because if Zach and Driss had ever been able to talk, earlier, things might not have played out the same way, throughout the whole story. A lot of their problem was that they just couldn't talk about how they actually felt about anything.
Well, when you're surrounded by people who are listening and are willing to absolutely kill you or turn you into a damn drider, it's not like you can be free with your words and your feelings in that environment.
Exactly. But it's something Wheel of Time fans are very used to seeing.
Well, yeah. I've already said the biggest sort of change in the show was Perrin writing letters to people. Like, yeah, what? Perrin, they're communicating? No, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think that's you're going to find that not just across most epic fantasies is lack of communication being the issue because we've got, if you had good communication, then you wouldn't have
there's
plot
no drama
a lot of times. You know what I mean?
No drama.
Exactly. So I think that that lack of communication, although I think I'd say I listened to the audiobook when I was prepping for this, and because I don't ever consume print anymore with my eyesight the way it is. And the thing that got me with like the writing style in particular with this book was it was very much reminiscent to me of like if you were going to take a classic movie or like a story and then have somebody in the 1950s like make a movie about it, and like somebody made, say, Ben-Hur, right? If somebody were to remake Ben-Hur now, it was this robust, sprawling, epic movie with Charlton Heston in it, but there was violence in it, but it wasn't overtly violent.
Right.
And then if you were to take somebody were to remake it today, there would be so much more realistic battle, realistic bloody stuff happening because of the world that we're in today. I felt like I was reading something that was 30 to 40 years old. It did not read as modern to me. Like even when I read Reel of Time, I still don't get that feeling because I don't know why, because maybe it was completed so recently, but I just felt like I was reading more of like classic fantasy as opposed to like what I would read now. Does that
I'd
make
say
sense?
Jordan's prose is, yeah, I'd say Jordan's prose is a bit
I
more
could agree with
timeless than
that. Yeah.
Salvatore's.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a bad, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It was just, there was like, there were, you know, like different POVs and stuff. And it just seemed, it was, it as a, if this was the first time I had ever read it and I was interested in Drizzt, I don't know that it would have captivated me enough to, as a person I am today, to go in and read more. I would rather wait for the movie. Does that make sense? Then that's my own
Yeah.
personal thing. Like you guys were talking about doing the David Eddings. I had that same experience with Eddings. I reread the first Pawn of Prophecy, the first book from the Belgariad, and I very much had the same feeling. Like it was the writing style, it doesn't flow quite as smoothly. There's a lot more descriptive prose than of things that in my opinion might not matter quite as much. Like I want there to be more robust explaining what does Menzoberranzan look like. I want more I want to know more about the matriarchy, like how that fuels Menzoberranzan. Like I want to know, like, why does Loth favor women? Like I want more to kind of give me a better feeling of why are Drow evil? Why is Loth their deity. God? You know, I mean, that's just their deity. That's kind of like I was wanting more. I was like, it was a good story, but it was just like it wasn't lacking is not the word I'm trying to use. It just, as somebody who reads a lot of books that come out now, it was just different. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I have one question. I love, don't get me wrong, I love the character Drizzt, but do you think if he was created now, he would be less, you know, like if this book was written now, he would be less preternaturally perfect at everything he goes to do? I hate using the word Gary Stu or Mary Sue, but the term in some ways does apply to Drizzt. I mean, that whole sequence where, you know, with the coins or where, you know, he's never done this before. The first time he's ever flipped coins off his elbow, he does them all perfect, even does a spin. What Zach had to practice weeks to do, Drizzt does on his first try. Drizzt is perfect at the combat and the dexterity and the nimbleness and the physical aspects.
Yeah, it's called genetics.
Do you think
man.
he
Have
would
you met
be
his father?
today? Do you think he would be the same if that was written today? That he would be so damn good at everything?
I don't.
With the way we frown on the Mary Sue type of character so much, and I hate using that term because it gets thrown on too often, you know, on characters that clearly aren't. But in this case, I think it kind of applies.
I don't. I think he makes plenty of mistakes. We see him make mistakes. I mean, we see him screw up. He does some things that, you know, are not great. They're pretty freaking awful. You know, he sees him as the lesser of the two evils he's asked to do, but he still does them. And I mean, that's not perfection. And as far as the coin scene, I mean, Zach Finnan knows he's his son. So he's like, there's no way my bloodline is going to be lacking in this. Plus, he's seen this child and how determined he was to clean the statue and use the levitate spell. He's seen this. So he knows what he's capable of on some level. He didn't think he would go as far with the coins, but he knew he would have some skills, and that's genetic based. I'm his dad. He should have some sort of ability to, do some of this. So,
Well, I think, but you also have to remember what led him to want to try to test him to do that. It was to keep him from being
sorcery, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
and so it wasn't like done on on purpose necessarily. Like it was his desire to get him not to go to
Kind
the
of
school
an
of sorcery.
impulse.
Yeah. I think I think we see it's a trope is what that is, right? The perfection, the protagonist trope of not you want them to be. I think the difference between reading a book like that 30 years ago and reading a book like it today is that as a society, it used to be like we were very idealistic when we were reading books. Like we would be like, it's true pure escapism to read something that's so far fetched from what you know. But I think we as a society have changed because we want to be able to relate to the character. So I think if Drizzt were written today, we would have way more inner dialogue. We would have way more conflict. In order for Drizzt to be commercially appreciated, we would have to have way more substance to Drizzt. Now, mind you, when we first met Drizzt in Icewind Dale, this is prequel. This is backstory. This is to give people what they want because he became such a popular character.
Right.
Like this chaotic good dark elf. Like what the heck? Who worships the god of nature? Like what?
Yeah.
So
unheard of.
I think, but he is, and Matt, don't be mad at me for saying this, but I do believe that he's not quite three-dimensional to me in this book. In my brain, he's definitely three-dimensional. But in this book,
I can agree with that. In this particular book, Homeland, he's really not. We don't get a better sense of him until he's alone.
Right.
When he's out on his own. So that's why, I do love this book and I love this series, but Sojourn is so much better than Homeland for me.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to it. It's literally been 30 years or whenever this book came out since I read this trilogy, and I only read them each once.
I mean, Exile and Sojourn are just so good. And I do think this is the weakest book out of the three, but at the same time, even as the weakest book out of the three, I will read this over 90% of other books you offer me. And I've already read it like a billion times. But that's partly nostalgia, like I said.
Sure.
So Beth, you read Icewind Dale first,
read.
right?
I did. I read them in order of like read order. So
okay. Do you remember what led you to reading this book? Or do you remember reading it? The circumstances your first time.
I was literally digesting anything I could find Forgotten Realms at the time. Like I had just gotten off of reading Dragonlance. I don't think I read these books until after I played Baldur's Gate 2.
Gotcha.
Because Drizzt had made an appearance in Baldur's Gate 2, and I remember I had read Icewind Dale when I was in the army. But then I got out of the army and I was immediately pregnant. I had my son like immediately out of the military, and life happened, right? But then Baldur's Gate came out and I played it, and Drizzt was a character in it. So it reminded me that I had read Icewind Dale. So I think that's what led me. So I actually don't think I read these books until either late 90s or early 2000s. So 20 to 25 years ago for me. But they, after that, I consumed anything Forgotten Realms that I could find. I do know I read Catterley's series before I read this one, though. I read Icewind Dale, and then I read Catterley's. I don't remember the name of the series off the top of my head right now. Catterley is the human. He's a human priest, and he had a 5-book series, I believe, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I just consumed them all as I, you know.
I
So,
consumed a lot. I remember the Time of Troubles with the Avatars, that whole series, when with Midnight when she became Mistra, and Kellenborg when he was still a human fighter, and all those other guys,
mhm.
during all that. But I never read any of them past that.
I mean,
After
I would
that,
honestly say if I had to choose between the two franchises, Dragonlance definitely was much more my bag of tea than Forgotten Realms was.
yeah,
And again, it's all because of the emotional connection. The Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman just take you on such a freaking roller coaster of emotions with being brutally brutal about characters
yeah.
and people you
The
love.
first book I
And
ever cried.
uh-huh.
The first book that ever made me cry was The Death of Sturm.
Uh,
Yeah, that
Oh,
crushed me when I was a teenager.
yeah, no,
Man, this
I
is
think
one of those memories.
the death of Zachnaphin, I definitely cried. I don't know if that's the first time I cried reading the book, but yeah, I did not care for that ending at all. As far as I feel like he had just found his father and then he immediately loses his father. It's a little bit crushing.
I feel
Yeah,
like if this book was like currently written, that would have been way more emotional. It would have been way more like Dritz would have come in as it happened, like or something, right? Like
Yeah,
it's almost an
right.
afterthought in when I read it this time. Like because you get this, he's going to die because he sacrifices himself, but then there's a POV change and it's happened, but there was no like emotional like angst for it. To me, it was more like, okay, well, it happened. And um I wish that it from Zach Nafine's point of view and his POVs, we would have had more of like an inner turmoil of this is what somebody who's been alive for hundreds of years with the same moral compass that Dritz has, like the inner struggle of having to kill people for matron malice versus um, trying to stay true to himself. And I just feel like there could be, but again, that would also make the book a lot longer. So,
I could take it
it
longer.
would,
Honestly, I wouldn't
I mean,
mind.
I just think that
More
there's
depth.
the bones here for some really great emotional payoff. Um,
Hmm.
I enjoyed reading it again, but I was not emotionally invested in it as I was reading it,
I, I,
if that makes sense.
I
I
think for
am
me,
curious what.
it hit me
Go ahead.
because the moment Drist realized that what Zach Niven had done and he was
Had done
gone,
for him.
that
Sure.
that that was the moment that got me, where I got
Mm,
emotional. The fact of him going to sacrifice, that wasn't the moment that broke me. It's Drist's realization of what they had done, and that he had basically given himself up for him, is what really hit me hard. So
I am curious what It's been a long time since I've read a new book by Salvatore, and I'm sure he's grown as an author. I mean, that's
Mm,
kind of unavoidable as long as he's been writing. I think that would have a lot to do with how different if he was to have written this book now. I think there would be a lot more depth to it in those ways, more emotional depth.
I don't know. Did
But
anybody play Drizzt in Dark Alliance? They had the cheat code where you could become Drizzt too
I
early.
did not.
I
no,
did. Oh, I did.
no.
Every time.
I've I'm hardly a gamer at all. I occasionally dabble in playing games. Like lately, I've been gaming, but I never did finish Baldur's Gate 2. I never even saw Drizzt in Baldur's Gate 2. I didn't play it that long, play it that
Mm,
far, but I would have liked that.
yeah, I'm looking at Ari Salvatore's like the books in order of publication, and because like I've never read the most recent series that came out
I
about
don't think I have either.
he
There's
wrote
30
a
some odd books now for Drizzt.
yeah, he wrote a book series um that was not Forgotten Realms, and I'm trying to
Cleric
remember.
Quintet. I
Yeah,
believe the
no, the
Cleric
Yeah.
Cleric
Quintet.
Quintet. That's the Cleric Quintet is Catterley, isn't it?
Is it? I never read it. Is that Forgotten Realms?
Yeah, that is. The
Okay.
Cleric Quintet is no, he wrote Yeah, those are, and that's Catterley, the Cleric Quintet. No,
Okay.
it's another series. It's not even doesn't even take place in Forgotten Realms worlds, and I can't not for the life of me remember what it was called, but it was very entertaining. Um,
Canticle was the first one, I believe.
That's
Of
Cleric
the,
Quintet.
yeah,
yeah, that's the origin story
yeah,
of
it's Catterley.
Catterley. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got 3 different series here on the Wikipedia bibliographies for Salvatore. There's outside of the Driz stuff, he's got
Highwayman.
a Corona is a fictional world he's
Yeah.
got with 2 trilogies and a bridge novel.
What's
And
the first trilogy on that one called?
It just says first trilogy. The first book is The Demon Awakens,
Okay, yeah,
1997.
that's the Demon Dactyl.
Yes, that's the books those are the books that I
Yeah.
read that are not
Okay.
they're not Forgotten Realms books. Yeah, they're
He's
pretty
He's also
good.
got
Yeah, they are.
he's got a
I
couple of
actually enjoyed
trilogies
that
too.
series.
He's got a couple of trilogies: The Spear Wielder's Tale, Chronicles of Innis Aiel, and Crimson Shadow series are the other trilogies he's got. And then the Star Wars books he wrote. They
Yeah,
learned that mistake.
he wrote the Highwayman, which takes place in the same universe as the Demon Dactyl series.
Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that book as well. And you do see a large jump in his prose and just the way he writes.
Yeah.
It's really good and entertaining, and it takes a premise that I really, really like. So you might want to give that one a shot if you enjoyed the Demon Dactyl series,
Right.
which I did. I actually really enjoyed those. I don't know many people that have read it, and I'm always like, the drunk priest who's not really a drunk priest. You just think he's a drunk priest. And there's like 3 other books that have the same premise. So they're always like, this one, I'm like, that's not it.
So this isn't Cadrak. This is a priest who just pretends to be a drunk priest, not actually a drunk priest.
Right.
Okay.
Well, the whole time,
Cadrak's a hell of a character.
The whole time, the priest, he'll drink it and then he'll act drunk and start fighting people. And then at the very end, like there comes this emotional moment where he's no longer with us, and they pick up his thing and it's been full of water this whole freaking time. And you're like, seriously?
Nice. So what are anything that you had forgotten that rereading this book made you remember? So anything in the book that you had forgotten about that this anything stand out, Beth?
The Driders.
Driders. Yeah.
Just the idea is so horrific, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had tried to block Driders out of my memory. I have a thing against spiders, so
I have severe arachnophobia, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah, anything dealing with Loth, I have issues.
Well, you get along with Drist, so.
Well, anything dealing peacefully with Loth.
I forgot just how batshit insane the political thing is for Menzo Brez, and just the whole you can take a house out, you just can't get caught taking a house out.
Right.
I had forgotten about stuff like that, and I'm like, a whole society set up that way is.
I had forgotten how on point
horrific, but fascinating as hell. I wish we had
forgotten how on point his mother's name was.
Oh, Malice, yeah, she's horrible, dude.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, to be fair, his entire family is kind of horrible.
Yeah.
And when I say kinda, I mean extremely.
Yeah. Well,
but I forgot how ruthless everything was. It's like I said, you can completely destroy another house. You just can't get caught. So if you're gonna do it, do it sneakily and well enough, and you will be rewarded. Right. And it's like, that is fun.
There's definitely one thing that if this was being written today, it wouldn't have the same element, because it's something Dungeons and Dragons has been moving away from. And that's I've brought this up on other discussions, that's the racial alignments, that because you're this race, you are this alignment. And Drist and Zach are that exception to the rule that Drow are chaotic evil. But that today, that's not something that they would do today. As a matter of fact, there's a whole another sect of Drow elves that worship another goddess, that are all good aligned. I can't remember which deity it is in Forgotten Realms that they worship, but that's something that D&D has been moving away from, big time the last decade or so, which I think is important.
I think it's a step in the right direction. They've also started adjusting skin tone for the Drow because at one point they had them as onyx skinned. It's now sort of grayish with a purple, and then it's been purple, which I get. That sort of connotation that because they have dark skin and they're elves, they're evil. Okay, I could see wanting to get away from that. So, I think they're slowly starting to change that canon and move away from that, which I get. And I don't really have a problem with it. I think it's a move in the right direction.
It's one of the things I liked about Feist's so-called dark elves, the Morethil. You could look at a Morethil and you couldn't tell the difference between him and a normal elf. They just they would have the same coloring, the same appearances. It was the way they carried themselves is how you could tell, at the most. But physical appearance alone, you couldn't tell the difference between a regular elf and a so-called dark elf.
I mean, on a
stuff.
On a scientific scale, it makes sense for how long they've been living in the Underdark. That they're either going to be extremely pale to the point where, they are see-through, almost transparent white, or some other genetic mutation. They're going to adjust to how long they've been in the Underdark. So I do see where they were coming from. I don't think it was meant on a racial basis in our reality. So I don't take it as that. Maybe some people do.
Yeah, there are.
Well, and I think there's a historic context of aligning darker skinned races with negative implications. Even the orcs from Tolkien were all very dark skinned.
The shifty men from the south, the shifty men were all described as swarthy. Inbreed, the men that they couldn't trust were all described as swarthy.
But I think when you do have to give a little bit of grace though to the situation that the Drow are in, because they really truly the main population is a very segregated community, right?
Yeah.
Menzo Berenstain had 20,000 people in it, and that's almost the entire populace of the Drow. Like when you think about it, there that we know of, right?
Yeah,
in the writings in that book, right? There's entire other segments of population that you don't learn about until later. But Menzo Berenstain was shown to be like this sprawling, beautiful city, but it's ruled by these matriarchs who all worship a god that is evil. So when you're a normal person, I don't know if there are any normal people in Menzo Berenstain, probably not, but you're either trying to keep your head down just to survive, or you're embracing the ways of Loth and moving up in the ranks, because it's all about whoever's the most aggressive, whoever's the most powerful. Power is everything in a society like that. And you see it too, even though it's a matriarchal society, you even see it among the men. You see it like, Drizzt older brother killed his older brother to become the
saving
second
Drizzt.
boy, right? Exactly. So you get that. And I do think that they do a good job of portraying how cutthroat the society is. But I do like that in modern D&D we are moving away from more like the traditional alignment type of things, and moving more towards free will / your circumstances decide what happens. And exactly. So alignment is nowhere near as important as it used to be. I'm always going to consider myself chaotic neutral because it's just, that's how I roll.
I'm chaotic good with lawful neutral tendencies, if that makes any sense.
No, yep, you're well, well, we won't get into that, but I don't like to break rules, so might need to be lawful neutral. But
this book reminded me of something that Baldur's Gate got wrong. The sexual dimorphism in drow is reversed from what it is in humans, at least. Drow women tend to be larger physically than the drow men. And when you play drow on Baldur's Gate 3, it's still the men are bigger than the women. And that's one of the things I noticed on Baldur's Gate 3 playing. That the drow women are still smaller if you go to make a drow character than the drow male.
I mean, you can make them bigger.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. You can scale them. So,
Yeah. I have a half drow character on Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah. And I remember going to the Underdark for the first time and I was freaking out. I was streaming it. I was like, am I going to the Underdark? I was so excited.
I had a lot of fun when I first went down to the Underdark. Those myconids are pretty insane looking.
Yeah, they are insane.
All the fungus.
I'm not gonna lie,
I wish I was
freaking pretty. They did a very good job.
They did a great job.
Pretty but deadly.
So, how has your life experience changed your perspective on this story? Would you say?
As a parent, I absolutely would not go out of my way to hit the brakes if Malice was standing in front of me. She's the worst parent in fantasy as far as I'm concerned. I knew that as a teenager, but as a father, and I look at the way she treats her children, and I get it's a drow thing, but fuck them, I would kill her.
Yeah.
My hate for her has grown leaps and bounds, as a parent.
I can understand that. I also don't like the one sister who was like really bloodthirsty. I can't think of which one that was. The one who really wanted to kill. The one who really wanted to kill Drist at his birth.
So Briza was the eldest.
Yeah, Briza. She was the high priestess.
Briza. Yeah.
Right. And Vierna was the one who raised him, right?
Yes.
I think so.
That's the middle sister, and that's actually Zaknafine's daughter as well. And you did see some glimmers, like he knew that she was his daughter, because they don't ever really talk about who the fathers of these people are, right? It's always about who the mother is. And so, but, and Matron Malice had a consort, but everybody knew that even though she hated Zaknafine, she was very attracted to Zaknafine. Like all the things that she hated about him were what made him so attractive to her physically appealing wise, right? So she had relationships with Zaknafine, and Vierna's his daughter, and there were conversations where he has a conversation with her and almost addresses her like as daughter, and she like basically gets up in his face about it. And but you could tell like there was this moment of conflict. But you're not going to survive if you aren't cutthroat and brutal and ruthless.
I think that's kind of the whole essence of the book, is that it's Driz realizing I can't stay here because I will not survive. The way I think, the way I feel is so alien to these people. I'm not going to make it because I stand out. Which, like I said, as a teenager, really appealed to me.
Right.
Oh, I understand that. I was like the school nerd, like somebody at my school said it was, I was the epitome of nerd in my school. But yeah,
I was weird because I
I
didn't
stood
fit
out.
in anywhere. I played baseball. I also had long hair. I smoked. I listened to weird music. I didn't fit in anywhere. There was no social group
Mm.
that I really fit in, except for the other people who didn't fit in anywhere. So, like I said, for me, that theme in this book came across really clearly. It's one of the
Mm.
reasons I'm so nostalgic about this book.
Mm, um,
So it allows me to
That's
overlook a
understandable.
lot of the flaws y'all are pointing out. So I hear them and I'm like,
Right.
no, you're right. But at the same time, I don't care.
I mean, I don't think they're flawed. I don't think the book is flawed.
Okay,
I just think
imperfections. Let's go with imperfections.
sure.
Imperfections.
But I do think that there could have been some more morally gray moments for him that maybe would have made him more appealing as a almost like an anti-hero. I would like to see Drizzt start off as an anti-hero and then turn into a hero.
Mm.
Because if you're raised in that area, right? Like I think Zach Nafine was morally gray by the time he was alive for 400 years, right?
Oh yeah,
So
the first time we see him, he's slaughtering kids.
exactly. So he's definitely morally gray. I would have liked to have seen some more of that in Drizzt. Like making decisions that he had to live with. Because he never really had to make those decisions. Because anytime he was killing somebody, he was defending himself or he was defending someone else. Um,
Right.
you know, uh, the decision not to kill his brother when they went on the raid against the high elves on the surface, that was self-preservation for him and to save the small child that he saved.
Right. The
So
little girl.
right, I just think that he would be more interesting a character to a newer reader if there was a little more gray, a little more ambiguity there with it where his journey. Like it's totally great that he gets where he gets because I love
Right.
that. I love that. But
Right.
like to kind of give him like let him have some hiccups, along the way. And I feel like he's a great literary character. He's one of the best serial characters of any franchise that I've ever read. Because he's timeless in a way, right? Like he's not the typical hero, but he's a great one. He's a great one.
Mhm.
And we have to talk about Guinevere, by the way,
I was
because
about to say we gotta talk about Guinevere because
Guinevere is my favorite character
the
in Forgotten
greatest
Realms.
the
Literally
greatest
my
pet
forgotten.
companion. Yeah.
Yes, my favorite character in all of the Forgotten Realms is Guinevere, and as a matter of fact, the Wheel of Time D&D campaign that I'm in with Leia, um, the time to roll the dice is I have an animal companion. My character does, and her name is Gwen, named
Nice.
after taken
Is
from
it
Guinevere.
is it a cat?
It is a cat. It's a Palace's cat. If you Google it, then
Yeah.
you'll see what it looks like. And they're like the smallest wild cats in the world. And their name is Gwen. So
Nice.
named after Guinevere. So
Nice.
yeah, I love everything about Guinevere so much. So much. Great companion. Great companion.
I love how painful it is to see her being commanded by what's his face?
Oh,
I always have trouble
yeah.
with his name, the actual pronunciation of his name. Majory.
Majo or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way it's spelled. It just blows my mind. I'm like, you
I
can't
don't
end it.
remember how it was spelled. I listened to it this year. And my memory
Same.
from 30 years ago isn't
It's
good enough to tell you.
It's Mazoge or something like that. Mazoge.
Mazoge. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
about right.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the narrator sounds like what the narrator was saying.
Mazoge. But yeah, it's so painful to see him be in charge of her and the things he's making her do, and she's clearly reluctant and feels guilty and awful about having to do those things. And you're like,
Right.
dude,
Right.
how can you make me feel so bad for a gigantic murderous panther? I don't know, but it works.
Yep.
That's an awesome character.
And I love the jealousy that goes on between him when Guinevere starts hanging out with Drizzt. And he's like,
Mhm.
what? You're my cat.
You're my cat. You're
You're
my
like,
cat.
no, she's her own cat.
What are, if any, some character flaws that you hadn't noticed before that you noticed this time in our main character?
He is one dimensional in this book. He's very naive. There's not a whole lot of substance or inner monologue. We don't really, we understand he doesn't like any of this. That's about it.
Yeah.
So he is one
Hopefully we'll
dimensional,
see
and I
that
did notice that. This time I'm like, yeah, he gets a lot better in Exile and Sojourn.
Anything for you, Beth?
I mean, I would agree that he's not as fleshed out on paper as he could be. But oh my goodness, excuse me, I'm getting over cold. I think the biggest flaw is that he doesn't have enough flaws.
That's why I say he borders on being a Gary Stu. I'm not going to say he flat out is one, but he does have a lot of the elements of a male Mary Sue, and that should go away from what I remember of the next couple of books. But
yeah, it does.
Anything else, you guys? Either of you want to bring up on this book?
Not really. Just I'm really looking forward to continuing on. So, like I said, out of the three, this is the weakest book for me.
Weakest link.
So I'm really looking forward to hitting Exile next. I have some vague memories, of certain fights and things, but I don't remember details a lot of Exile. So I'm really looking forward to it myself.
I am too. It's been a long time since I read it. Well, Beth, thank you for joining us. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And it's been great having you on. Always enjoy watching you on different shows. Please go watch her on her channels. Her link tree will be linked in the doobly-doo down below. And thank you for watching. Come back in a few more weeks as we discuss Exile by R.A. Salvatore. Thanks for watching. And don't forget. Yeah, I know. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to be awesome.
Bye.